everyone, Hayley here from Easy Agile, coming to you from Nashville, Agile 2022. We've got a great roundtable coming up with our co-CEO, Nick Muldoon, along with our partner organisation, Valiantys, and a valued customer, Lyft. Take a listen, but before that, I'm going to introduce our speakers. Dean McNeil is the head of Agile at Valiantys, an Easy Agile partner organisation. Dean's characterised as a creative and analytical Atlassian certified consultant and enterprise Agile coach. He has over 10 years of experience accelerating business value for delivery of companies of diverse sizes and verticals. Dean is passionate about motivating cross-functional teams to realise organisational efficiencies, faster time to market and higher quality. We've also got John Waple, a technical program manager at Lyft. John is a valued Easy Agile customer and is passionate about building agile, high-performing, diverse, cross-functional program teams. He empowers those around him to deliver features with increasingly complex requirements that improve the customer satisfaction of the world's largest services. And finally, we've got Nick Muldoon. Nick is our co-founder and co-CEO here at Easy Agile and is passionate about working with Agile software teams across the globe to help their customers succeed. Nick has used the know-how that he's gained from working at Twitter and of course Atlassian to drive the sustainable growth of Easy Agile from Wollongong, Australia. I hope you enjoy this roundtable.
Okay, well thank you so much for being here. It's really wonderful. We're in Nashville for Agile 2022. Easy Agile is one of the title sponsors and we've gathered some of our friends, our partners and our wonderful customers together and of course our wonderful CEO as well, or our co-CEO, Nick Muldoon, to have a bit of a chat around some of the Agile things that we're seeing at the conference and Agile experiences that we're all hearing in the industry as well. So the first question I'm going to start with, and Dean, you gave a really good explanation just before, so I hope you remember it. So you're all Agile experts in your businesses and in the industry as well. So let's go around each of you. What is Agile and what isn't Agile? Dean, let's start with you.
Okay, thank you. As an author, I always like to look at that root of each word and what it means. So it's from the Latin agere, to set in motion and keep in motion. And I like always having that in mind when I think of agility, because as we've written about in our recent white paper co-authored with Atlassian, we talk about strategic adaptability. So that's at that enterprise level. So you're enabling organizations to not just survive, but to thrive in these increasingly complex times. So to me, agility is adaptability. And what it's not was the other question. You just threw that one in to try to catch me. What is Agile not? It is not a methodology, okay? I could leave it probably at that. It's a mindset, right? And there's a lot of things it's not. It's a whole laundry list. So I'll probably just leave it with that. It's not a methodology.
Yeah, I like it. That's a top take home. Cool. John, what about you? Agile, what is it? What isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say to me it's about delivering as fast as possible in a way that amplifies learning with happy teams, so without burning people out. And I think that talks to what Agile is not. It's not a method to cram as much work out of a team as possible and lead to burnout on those unhappy teams. So to me it's about sustainable delivery and both customer success and team success.
Love it. It's definitely something we hear a lot at Easy Agile too. Nick, what about you?
I guess I'm just reflecting on something that you said, Dean, about the environment we've been in over the past 2 years, and Agile is being able to respond to a changing environment. And John and I chatted about this earlier today, and how does a business respond as the environment changes? So I think that's the embodiment of Agile. I think Agile is not a silver bullet. We have people that look at Agile and they go, oh well, this is going to solve all of our woes, and it's not, and it's certainly not a turnkey kind of thing. So that's
it's not the silver bullet. It's not the why. It's not we have to do Agile, right? It's not the why, it's the way. It's to get you to what is your mission, right? And your highest level mission. And in order to achieve that highest level mission in these uncertain times, right, this is where that mindset comes in. So that way you could sense and respond. When you look at adaptability in evolutionary theory, right, it's about responding to either a new environment or changes in your environment to, again, not just survive, but to thrive. So to us anyway at Valiantys, we like that tie-in there with evolution, because the organization, when you think of an organization, it's like an organism, right? Because it's, again, the same root of the word. And Agile is sort of a gift to the organism and the organization to have that mindset and to have that alignment. And it's hard to get, though, because it's about people, right? It's not about a tool. So again, Agile's not a tool.
Good point.
It's a set of practices that people do. And then the tools are there to support those practices. And that's what we love doing at Valiantys, is taking tools like what you guys build and then enabling those Agile practices to help our customers.
So let's just rewind a second. I'm interested. Did you study Latin? You keep going.
Yes, a little bit.
You studied a little
Just
bit
a wee
Latin.
bit in my prep school back in the days in New Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah, okay, cool.
The Romans sure did have a scalable model. They went far and wide, right?
Yes, but all things
Small
come to an
units.
end.
Yeah.
And so you have to be prepared for that, right? Then what's going to be that next step? If you look at the Roman Empire, right, and then when they came to an end, you have to look at, okay, now how did they reinvent themselves and live on? And the culture does still persist, right? To this day, one could argue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dean keeps speaking the language, so it's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
I'm keeping it alive.
Yeah, you're keeping it alive. All right, so we're in Nashville, and we're here for Agile 2022, and we're hearing lots in the industry around, rethinking the terms that we always hear, that Agile transformation. But now maybe we're thinking it's an Agile journey. What are your thoughts? And maybe Nick will go with you first.
Yeah, I mean, I think the realization for me is this week people have kind of put transformation to one side, and a few times I've heard about like the transformation from a caterpillar to a butterfly. There's an end point, and what we've seen, I think about the experience where John and I worked with Steve Green, and he kicked off the Agile transformation at Salesforce in 2006. And Kelly Courier was still running the transformation office until earlier this year, over a decade later, right? I think this is what I'm hearing this week, is that people are adopting this term about the journey, more so than something that has this like finite endpoint. I don't know, are you getting the same sense?
Yeah, very much so. I think it really is the continuous improvement journey. You're never actually there. You never reach the destination.
Yeah.
But you're always going to be chipping away and getting better and better at what you do as a team.
Yeah.
And the product that you ship to your customers. I think the user story map, that backbone of why a team is doing what they're doing, really helps us get there actually. It keeps it front and center of the mind, reminds the team, even if they're only working on one small part of the system, how the system as a whole works. And that kind of goes back to what Agile is as well. Like seeing the whole is a really important part in my mind.
Yep. What about you, Dean?
It is a journey. It's an individual journey and it's a collective journey. And where was I going to go with that?
Well, you talk about the collective, but I think about there's some companies and there's some industries where there's long tenure, and there's other companies, like in our experience in the Bay Area, we saw that for these SaaS businesses, these consumer internet businesses, there was quite short tenure. And so you spend time getting someone up to speed and bringing them on the bus and making sure that you're kind of aligned and going in the same direction. And then they jump to another bus. And so you kind of got to start again with the next person.
That is a perpetual frustration in this space.
Yeah.
For sure. Because what I was going to say is that part of the mindset is the growth mindset, right? That we adopt for practicing Agile. But you're absolutely right. To build a cohesive team that is aligned to a common mission, that has a growth mindset, you do risk people jumping. But if you have enough people in the organization, you have enough of those sparks, enough of that energy to keep driving because you're always going to have change. Again, it's about your change is the only constant. How do you respond to change? So your team is going to change. People are going to jump ship. But as long as you've got that alignment to the goals and people are bought in because they've been convinced, not coerced, then you're gonna keep going. The ship is going to stay afloat without that particular sailor.
Yeah, I really agree with that, especially when it comes to mission and vision. And I think that gets, that's both bottoms up and, like you were saying, pushed down. It has to be that meet in the middle. And what I mean about that is, like, the team has to be excited. Like at Lyft, we're trying to improve people's lives with the best possible form of transportation. And what I think about, to me, that means, like, how does someone get to college? How does someone get to their job? How might someone get to a doctor's appointment? Or how might someone safely get home rather than drink driving? It's having fun, it's saving lives, it's creating jobs, whether that be for riders or drivers. And that's stuff that's going to keep teams excited over the long term.
And every individual can connect to a different part of that.
And it drives the culture. And together, you build the story. And it is not only the journey of Agile, but it's like the Lyft journey of how I actually got to this conference. So all of these things connect in kind of cool ways, I think.
Yeah, cool. I think that probably talks to my next question a lot, actually, is like creating that compelling why to get people on your journey, on your bus. Like, how have you done that? How have you seen that done effectively, I guess, from your experience at Valiantys, but also at Lyft? Like, you know, how do you make sure that everyone's on board with that story that you just told? So maybe Dean, like, what's your experience of telling that compelling why and getting people on the journey?
It's working with the leadership team. You have to have the leadership engaged and the leadership team knowing the why and communicating the why. Because the bottom line is everybody has a choice here, right? It's not, that they're held against their will in this transformation journey, because they can go. Everybody has a choice. So the key is to get them fired up with this kind of excitement that we're here to provide fun and we provide the best experience for our customers. And we're actually providing value, not just to our customers, but a positive value to our country and to ultimately to our world, right? Because in fact, you're global. So if you look at great leaders in recent Agile transformations, you might want to look at a company like Porsche, which they went all in. They first went into lean back in the 90s, which was about 50 years after Toyota, but still good, anytime you could adopt those principles, that's great. Then they went into Agile around 2013, I think. Then 2016, they went safe. And once they started getting ready to launch their first arts, the pandemic hit. So they launched 10 arts remotely, which was a Herculean effort. But when you look at what their leadership talks about, it's fantastic because they say every employee at Porsche is leading the change. So they're all bought into it. They all have that sense of leadership to drive it. So that's a company that inspires us because they talk about communicating the why effectively so that everybody is bought into that level. And then why I thought about them is when you said fun, because when you look at their CIO, who's also the CEO of Porsche Digital, when he lists off the top three things as to why everybody is so fired up in this transformation, fun is number one, right? It's fun and it's like the sense of mission and contribution and it's things like that. But the fact that you can have fun on the job, your job is not supposed to be a grim duty. It's supposed to be something you look forward to. And that's why you and I are smiling all the time because we love what we do. Yeah. And you too.
He's always smiling.
Yeah. And you as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. And John, how do you tell the why at Lyft?
Yeah, I mean, we're quite lucky because the letter Y is in the word Lyft. So we actually regularly call it the Y. And I think for me, we have this thing called Fortnight, which is an all hands where we get together, or used to be where we physically got together. We still do that in offices now. We're a hybrid, flexible workplace now. But I would say the majority of people are still working from home online during that meeting. But in parts of the why, we will bring up, say, a persona. So that might be a rider that had a really great experience that might have changed their life. It got them to a job interview on time. Or a driver that had some bills to pay, or recently had a newborn child or something like that, or college tuition to pay, and had supplemental income through driving to pay for that. And it really gives it that incredible meaning. We also have some incredible programs around transportation access. So giving accessible rides to people that might be in a wheelchair, or people that struggle to even pay for the ride. So they need to get access and transportation to get to a work or a school or a hospital appointment. So if you share those personas with people and also keep those front and center and bring them to life with real people, I think that helps with the purpose. So in that sense, you're hearing it directly from the customer, and you're also hearing it from leadership, and we're also kind of getting each other excited. So it's coming bottoms up, it's coming tops down, it's coming sideways, so you can't help but feel deeply connected to the product that you're making, and that makes it more fun. Plus, if you can work with people that come from diverse backgrounds that help challenge you and grow you, I think that really helps. Like when I'm working on a product, I actually seek out people that generally disagree with me and argue with me. That's why I love working with Nick so much. Because I learn and grow from that.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I didn't really think about that. That's a really cool idea. And then it's a kind of another way of failing fast, right? So I'm learning quicker through my feedback loop from a customer and my peers, which is exciting.
Yeah, nice. And Nick, how do you create a why at Easy Agile?
I don't even want to answer that. I mean, I'd love to answer that, but sorry, all I've been able to think about is this fun piece.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about two individuals, Keith Nottinson, and I remember how he would start a retrospective at Optimizely, and he wanted to do these agile practices, but he wanted to make them fun for a team that hadn't had experience with them. So I remember like one time he came in and he'd shaved off half his beard. Everyone's going like, you look ridiculous. He's like, I look ridiculous. So like, let's do this. Or another time, I think he came dressed as a pirate or something like he was always trying to do different things.
Great icebreakers.
Yeah, they were icebreakers.
Yeah.
And I think he took it on himself to kind of be a bit silly, to lighten the mood and just to get everyone comfortable with sharing. And then I think of Heidi Helfand, and she, sorry, I forget the name of the company she was with at the time, but as part of their Agile journey, they brought in an innovation sprint every second month or something like that. And she would, she'd get them to, have a treasure chest. And if you were there overnight, like at 11 p.m. or something, they'd open up the treasure chest and there'd be all these gifts to kind of energize people to keep going. And so it wasn't just a journey to Agile, it was a journey to new methods of work. And one of those things is we're going to have an innovation week. And so we're introducing other things, not just introducing the rituals around Scrum or retros and stuff like that.
People want to innovate and create. That's one thing that drives the knowledge worker. Right? To use that generic term for those who are engaged in this type of pursuit. We do want to, leave our mark and have a say in things. So decentralized decision making helps there. Let the decisions be made where the information is, and that's with the various knowledge workers, whether they're at the team or program level. And that sense of engagement where, hey, now you guys have a week to just go and innovate and create. I mean, that's something that Atlassian provides. That's something that many of our customers provide, that we've done also at Valiantys, where we're able to just go off and have some focus time on creating a new offering to help our customers, or creating something that is going to perhaps be of value, like the paper you've seen. We love putting those out. So yeah, things like that.
John, has your crew done innovation days or innovation weeks? Because I remember we used to do them at Twitter together, but I'm thinking at Lyft.
Yeah, we do a fairly regular cadence of Hack Week, although teams can do their own Hack Week if they wish, but we do generally quarterly encourage the whole company to do one too.
And get together,
I find them personally quite freeing because it takes you away a little bit from the day-to-day metrics. Obviously, you have to run the live site and make sure that's available, but it feels to me like you can be even more riskier than usual. we're pretty good at embracing that failure is okay. But every time you every time you ship software, you're always a little bit nervous you're going to break something. Whereas I feel like Hack Week, you can free yourself from all of that, go a bit crazy, go a bit wild, think more out of the box than usual, because you're kind of expecting it to fail. So if you happen to kind of hit gold and it works, you're like, cool. So actually some really great ideas that come out of our Hack Week projects.
That's great.
Cool. So I'm hearing the word leadership a little bit in our conversation here. And I was just thinking about that Peter Drucker statement, you know, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And so I want to know, in your mind, how important is a leader's role in creating culture? Or do you think is it everyone's job to create culture? Or is it a bit of both? So maybe, John, let's start with you. What do you think? Culture, where does that come from?
I'll go with a bit of both, but more weighted on, I think, leadership at the top. Because I think leadership does set the tone, specifically around risk-taking and safety around that. So are you actually truly empowering people to make mistakes? Like when something goes wrong, is the response, oh no, who do I fire? Or is it, oh, okay, cool, how can I help? What did you learn? If it's the latter category, I think you're going to ship great software for your customers and you're going to have way more innovation. If it's the former category, you're in trouble and you're not going to be in business for very long.
Mm-hmm. So about psychological safety?
I think so.
Yeah. Nick, what do you think?
I'm wondering if it's got something to do with the size and the scale of the business. I feel like we've been through this evolution as a young company where everyone was in the culture together, and now as we're getting a little bit, the team's getting a little bit larger, I feel like the onus is more on Dave and I to set the tone and maybe to set the risk appetite for the business and what's okay, and maybe what was culturally appropriate in a smaller audience is, you know, we just kind of like, we're a little bit more conscious about how we take that as we grow. I'm not too sure. I think I'm definitely trying to reflect on that at the moment, actually. Yeah.
Yep. Dean, what about you?
Well, leadership is critical. So it does sort of begin with top leadership, modeling, you know, the agile behaviors, etc., and really embracing and leading the change. But then it really has to proliferate to everyone, essentially, which is no small feat, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, the whole thing that everyone here, every employee is leading the change
I really
at this
love
company.
That. Yeah.
You know? And when you think about it, we all, to lead somebody means to lead them into action. And we do that to ourselves as well. So even if the only person we're leading is ourselves, that still makes us a leader. So we're all a leader. It's just a question of how well do you lead.
You made me think of one of the engineering managers that we worked with at Twitter, and they were not well versed in Agile. They weren't. It's not like it came naturally to them. They hadn't had any really experience or exposure with it in the past. And I remember sitting down and having a coffee with them at a certain point. They shared this, and they didn't feel comfortable yet being vulnerable in front of the teams that they were responsible for. And so we kind of spent time. The question would be, you know, like, I don't understand why they haven't delivered. I was like, okay, but maybe we could change the question to, what can I do to help you deliver? Like, are there any impediments that I can help you with? Totally. And so we talked about changing the questions, and I think it was actually quite instrumental in changing the culture in that couple of teams, that unit, because they went from no chaos, basically, right? Like, just everything was flying everywhere all the time, to some semblance of structure with a regular cycle, and the team had a bit of rhythm. And then he was the leader that was not asking due dates. The leader was asking, what's the challenge? What can I do to help? And it changed the culture of that team. Now, it might have been isolated from the broader company, right? But certainly for them, I felt that they got more empowerment, and they got more, and ultimately that leader became more vulnerable in front of the team and said, I'm on a journey to learn here as much as the rest of us are. So, like, Yeah.
There's so many facets there to what you just said, because you were asking about the role of leadership too. I mean, that shows they're engaged, that shows servant leadership. It shows that you were able to coach them with powerful questions, get the leaders to ask those powerful questions themselves. That's where coaching is key in a transformation. And through that process, then the leader became someone who could create the environment for success for the team, which is really their role, right? To create that environment for success.
How can I help is such a cool question. It leads to so many good things. Like, teams, I think, are often just waiting to be asked that, and then they start unblocking themselves. Maybe it's an organizational blocker, and sometimes you have to say, "Oh no, sorry, that's me. Let me just get out of the way." Or sometimes you just have to improve the communication channels between two interdependent teams, which are having problems with maybe misaligned shipping schedules comes up frequently.
Miscommunication.
So many different types.
I remember one of the teams, like miscommunication. There were two teams in infrastructure operations, and I'm not saying that they were mortal enemies, but they were certainly not like.
I think I can remember.
They were not friendly.
Yeah.
And it was the wild idea: run a retro, but do it at the pub across the road. Do it at the bar across the road. Dive bar, really seedy. Drinks are on the house. And after that, it was like, oh, these people are just...
They got to know each other.
They're just other people, right?
Yes.
Like, oh, you're trying to do this? Oh, okay.
We humanize people.
Yeah. Yeah. Memories are coming back, Haley. I've got all these memories coming back.
Flooding back.
Great questions.
I love that. I love that everyone's a leader thing, because I think that really is the point where when you acknowledge that, regardless of where you are in an organization, when you acknowledge that leadership is everyone's job, I think that's really empowering and can really push you pretty far as a team member. So I really like that. And I guess thinking about successful agile teams, what do you reckon is the secret sauce? What do you think is the secret sauce in your experience? Is there a secret sauce? Like McDonald's have a secret sauce. Is there a secret sauce for agile teams? Nick or John, what do you think?
I would have to go with stability.
Okay.
If everything is changing around a team all of the time, including the team itself, I don't think they've really got a chance. So I think other than setting up that safe environment with a great culture, if leadership can focus on some stability, and that can be like a stable mission and purpose, and I would argue more importantly, a stable unit of a team. That going to the pub you're talking about, it doesn't have to be that, it can be it could be a virtual event, but that getting to know people, humanizing people is super important. The amount of times where I've seen agile transformations fail because they have like a reorg Wednesday where once a quarter the team is reorged and they become a new team, and team A is now team D and team E. I would say that is my number one factor for failure that I look. It's nothing to do with the team, it's just that there's just been constant change, which is ironic, I guess, because Agile is all about responding to change. But in order for a unit to work together and respond to change, a bit like the Roman Empire, right? The unit of 8, the unit that actually is responsible for responding to the change needs to be stable without too much change. If there's a new person coming in every week or two and being context switched out, they will fail.
Nick, you got some thoughts on that?
No, Dean.
No.
Dean, go to
Dean.
That was a good one, because we see that again and again. It is, for some reason, there is this thought that an agile team does not need to be a long-standing team. I don't know where that comes from.
I wish we could get rid of it.
Because from day one, it's been, now what has changed, it used to be co-located team.
Yes.
And boy, do I
Yes.
miss those days. But remote has come a long way. So much great stuff. And in fact, even with remote training, because one of the things I love to do is train, I'm seeing that you could still get the magic even remotely, which is incredible. I was kind of a naysayer at first, but I'm seeing people coming back from remote trainings going, wow, that was amazing when I left there. Just the regular neighborhood was brighter, and I saw the green of the trees even more so than before. And I was like, wow, excellent, even if how did they do that? So you can still capture that. But yeah, the key is to the extent possible, keep that unit together, because then you could do what I was going to say here is the hallmark of an Agile team is that they learn and adapt. So they're continuously improving because they're continuously learning and then making adaptations. To just keep that as the theme today for me is adaptability. And then at the enterprise level, the strategic adaptability. So yeah, you can't really get that learning and adaptation if you keep just stirring the pot, right? Because you're going to keep scattering that knowledge. You want it to, take hold, and then of course you want to then, spread the knowledge to the organization. You want to be a learning organization, right? Because that's really the key to Agile at scale. It's not just that learning team, but now you've got teams of teams on up to the organization. And that is hard. It's not easy, but it is feasible, and that's why we do what we do, because it's so much fun to tackle those big, transformation journeys. Well, if we use that term again.
Agile success or successful Agile teams, what are they to you? What's the secret sauce, Nick?
I don't know. I like a little bit of column A. I think the stability, so that you've got the tacit knowledge keeping together, and this open mindset where they're willing to learn. I love that, right? And if every team was like that, and you could stack them up throughout the organisation and compile them up into units, that'd be a weapon. It'd be awesome.
It's interesting that you say weapon too.
Terrible term. I'm going to strike it from the record.
In a good way, because I've noticed Lyft makes quite a heavy effort to hire veterans, and I've noticed that veterans are a really great addition to many of my Agile teams. They know how to bring a team together. They know how to focus on a problem. They know how to have a common goal. Now, we try not to focus on an enemy. Instead, we try to focus on customer success. But once they kind of translate that from that mindset to this one, they're really good at picking up the team. Whenever the going gets tough, look to your veteran to help you through the bad day. Because I can tell you they've had a way worse day on somewhere else.
And what has every veteran got? They've got a ton of discipline.
And tenacity, they don't give up,
and
and morale,
I like
and
that.
they train each other up, and they'll have
maybe the secret sauce. I might change it. Can I change it?
Yeah, change it.
Can I say secret sauce is discipline?
Yeah,
Discipline.
that's a good one.
So if you got like the solid unit, you got open to learning and change, and you got discipline.
I like it. We should write a book.
The big three. Write it down.
Yeah. Cool.
Too small to fail.
So I think we're probably up to our last question, and maybe this is sort of like that one. We're going to summarize what you're going to take away from this conversation. So maybe each of you, one key message or one key thing that you're going to take away and go back to your teams and help them be successful. Dean, let's start with you.
So if we're at the team level, that small unit again, well, it's a bit out of left field from what we've been talking about, but I think one key takeaway would be to, let's not forget, we have to demonstrate working product early and often, because that's key. So if you're practicing Scrum, that would be the sprint review. Make sure you're doing demos so we see working product. Because then we could, based upon that, get the feedback, right? And then we could also do our retrospectives. So we're looking at what we delivered, and now we're going to look at how we delivered it. So now we could do that learning, which I said was so key. The learning and adaptation. So we could keep iterating and keep moving forward, staying in movement, which is Agile. And yeah, so that would tie it in for me. Because that's a team takeaway. Which is another thing that I see overlooked again and again. That, in the fact of teams being, constantly disturbed and not left to be, a long-standing team. It's the fact that, we don't necessarily need to demo working product. Well, demo something. Let's keep iteratively and incrementally getting to a working product, because that is the primary measure of progress.
Nice. I like it. What about you, John?
I think Nick's given me something to think about discipline. I'm going to think a little bit more about that, because I'm kind of thinking, how does that fit into also a flexible workplace? I don't know the answer yet, but I think it'd be some interesting answers on how we translate that rigid environment from, say, the battlefield into an agile mindset. Is that, for instance, how we tackle tech debt in a super disciplined way rather than making it burn up and burn up and burn up, which we often do? That's what I'm thinking about, maybe.
We had this, this is not my final thought, but I come back to examples. I really do have a lot of memories coming back from Twitter, but we had this people operations crew, and they did some research around what are the teams that are achieving the outcomes that they said, and the stable, long-lived teams were the ones that achieved their outcomes. The ones where there were churn did not. You could run with your people operations team at Lyft. Is there any correlation between the teams that have veterans, and potentially our hypothesis is that they have greater discipline than other teams, and are they more likely to achieve their outcomes than not?
That'd be cool.
I guess my takeaway is that I just love having conversations, and I'm curious and I want to continue it.
This won't be the last. Yeah.
Cool. Part 2 coming up. Well, thank you
At
so
the pub.
much. At the pub.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll be playing on the drums later. Yeah,
Perhaps.
cool. All right, excellent.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Nick, John, and Dean from our wonderful network of friends and partners and customers. So thank you. It's been really wonderful, and hopefully you back home can take something away from this as well. But we'll leave it there, and thank you from Easy Agile here at Nashville, Agile 2022.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, team.